So, good day everyone. We are the Group 9. So, our report is all about mooring operation, introduction, legislation, regulations, and codes of practice, general safety rules. So, introduction. The mooring and unmooring of any vessel is an integral part of the operation of a working port. Mooring crews need to be adequately trained with suitable experience to carry out the rule to ensure a safe operation is carried out. Both practical and theoretical training will be given to all those taking part in mooring operation within the port to ensure the same standard is maintained across the port. Part of this training will include the requirements of the vessel's masters has overall responsibility for the safe mooring of their vessel, taking into account hazards associated with the time, location, prevailing weather conditions, and tidal conditions at the berth. 2. Legislation, regulations, and codes of practice. Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, Section 2. Employers' general duties to employees so far as is reasonably practicable to provide and maintain plant and systems of work which are safe and without risk to health, provide safe use, handling, storage, and transport of articles and substances, provide information, instruction, training, and supervision, maintain safe access and egress with regards to any place of work, provide adequate welfare facilities. Section 2, Part 3. So, it provide a safety policy, revise it as necessary, and bring it to the attention of employees. So, Section 3. Employers' general duties to the persons not in their employment, so far as is reasonably practicable. Ensure that those not employed are not exposed to risk to their health and safety from the company and undertakings. Section 7. Employees' general duties. So 1. Take reasonable care for you, your own health and safety, and that of others affected by what you do. 2. Cooperate with the employer to enable them to discharge their duties. Section 8. 1. Do not misuse or interfere with anything provided for safety purposes. Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulation 1999. Regulation 3. Risk Assessment. So 1. Make a suitable and sufficient assessment of the risk to the health and safety of employees and others not in employment which they may be exposed to while at work. So number 2, review the risk assessment if something changes or it is no longer valid. Number 3, record the risk assessment if the employer employs more than 5 people. Regulation 4, Principle of prevention. 1. Apply the principles of prevention when considering controls against risk. Regulation 10. Information for employees. Provide relevant information regarding the risk to health and safety identified in the risk assessment. So 2. The preventive and protective measure in place. 3. Provide relevant information regarding procedures. Regulation 11. Cooperate and coordination. Number 1. Where two or more employers share a workplace, cooperate with others. 2. Coordinate the work, safety, and protection arrangements. 3. Inform other employers of the risk to their employees' health and safety arising from or in connection with the work. So, Regulation 13. Capabilities and training. 1. Provide employees with adequate health and safety training. 2. Repeat training where appropriate. 3. Adapt the training to take into account any new or changed risk to health and safety. So 4. Training to take place during working hours. Regulation 14. Employees' duties. 1. Use machinery, equipment, dangerous substances, transport equipment, means of production or safety device provided by the employer in accordance with training. 2. Inform the employer or person responsible for health and safety of any work situation that represent a serious and immediate danger. 3. Inform the employer or person responsible for health and safety of any work situation that represents a shortcoming in protection arrangements. Manual Handling Operation Regulation 1992. Regulation 4. Duties of employers. 1. Avoid the need to undertake manual handling activities where practicable. 2. Make a suitable and sufficient assessment of the manual handling operation. 3. Take steps to reduce the risk of injury to the lowest practicable level. 4. Take steps to provide employees undertaking manual handling activities with general information. 5. Review the risk assessment if is no longer valid. 6. Review the risk assessment if there is a significant change. Regulation 5. Duties of employees. Make full and proper use of the safe system of work provided by the employer. 2. This approved code of practice or ACOP covers safety in all docks operation but does have useful references to mooring. This document has effectively replaced the Dock Regulation 1988. SIP 005 Guidance on Mooring. This guidance document was jointly published by the Wealth and Safety Executive or HSE and Port Skills and Safety, which along with the L148 Safety Index publication replaces the references to mooring from the Dock Regulation 1988. This guide should be read in conjunction with this manual. Code of Practice for the Safe Mooring of Vessels on the Thames 2010 as amended. So 1. Although the port of Tilbury is owned and operated by Fort Ports, it is still a requirement for all vessels operating on the River Thames to follow the practices outlined by the Port of London Authority in this code of practice. This only applies to vessels using river berths and not within the confines of the enclosed docks. 3. General Safety Rules 3.1 Driving within the port. Any person who is disqualified from driving on the public roads is also prohibited from driving. Dock plant and any such disqualification should be reported to the company. Unauthorized passenger riding on any plant, equipment, or vehicle is strictly prohibited. Adhere to the port's speed limit at all times. The wearing of seat belts is compulsory and the use of mobiles when driving is prohibited. Parking enforcements as indicated by notice or road markings must be strictly observed. Care, care you be taken if vehicle occupants are wearing life jackets inside the vehicle as they can get caught and inflate, causing an accident. Traffic management plans need to be followed and these vary for each berth, so make sure you are aware of any traffic management practices in operation for the area of operation. 3.2 Reporting of defects. It is the responsibility of all employees, contractors, or other operators report any defect to plant, vehicle, or infrastructure. And it is the responsibility of supervisors to assess that defect with engineering assistance if necessary and ensure its rectification as soon as is reasonably practicable. If necessary, mark appropriate to ensure it is not used. Due attention should be paid to the lifebuoys positioned around the quays and any defects or missing lifebuoys must be reported to the appropriate manager. Similar defects in quays, ladders, fenders, piling, etc. must be reported to the appropriate manager for notification to facilities. Additionally, marine should be informed. No obstructions should be placed adjacent to the quayside bollards, preventing safe access for mooring parties. Any such obstructions must be reported to the supervisor for notification to the relevant manager. Report defective life jackets immediately to the supervisor in charge of that operation and do not use the life jacket until replaced or fixed. 3.3 Signals and Warnings. There are a number of hand signals used for mooring operation, and these are shown in Annex 3. 3.4 Safe working practices when using knives. Safe working practices when using knives. Knives is issued for your own safety to prevent injury in the event of having line being caught around your or a colleague's leg or arm. Knives will not easily cut mooring ropes but will easily cut through heavy lines and messenger lines that are caught. If a mooring line needs cutting, it is best to use an axe. When closing the knives, ensure fingers are clear of the blade housing as you close the blade. Always cut away from or to the side of your body, ensuring limbs are not behind the knife. Stroke when cutting ropes, etc. Ensure fingers are clear of the blade when cutting. Under no circumstances should an open knives be placed in the pocket, and when not in use, it must be closed.
Arranchado will continue the report.
The next is the knife issued are for work only and should not be taken from the port, and they could be constructed as an offensive weapon. Criminal Justice Act 1988 is 139. It would be construed as a serious disciplinary offense if any person threatens another person with a knife. Next is emergency situations. Always ensure every member of your team is accounted for at the end of the operation. Anyone missing, whether during the day or night, must be reported as a search started. A person falling into the water from the quayside may be knocked unconscious and will be make a little sound. Do not take it for granted that your colleagues are safe. Always check and make sure. If anyone is missing or there is an incident, make an emergency telephone call immediately using the information below, which is also displayed in the lifebuoy station. All emergency routes should be kept free from obstruction and properly maintained. Whenever a person is observed to fall into the water anywhere in the port states, then with all possible haste, witnesses should throw the victim life belt to be throw the victim a life belt to be found at strategic point around the port. The next is follow the procedure set out in section 3.7.3. Next, alert the lockside who in turn will alert PLA. The next, keep a close watch on the victim, enrolling others to help to do the same. Next is, do not enter the water to effect a rescue. Next, usually the Port of Tilbury Police allies with the emergency services, but you need to speak to the emergency services. Ensure that clear and precise instructions are given to the emergency services and that someone is available to meet and guide them to ease although this is typically done by the police. Remain available on the phone to answer any question. It is important to give such information to the emergency services so they can plan ahead for the rescue and give further advice over the phone. Internal reporting procedure should be followed in the event of any incident. Typically, this would be through the Marine Department if it involves mooring operation, but some assets maybe have their own procedures which duty managers also need to be informed. Next, all life-saving equipment should be kept in good order and any defect observed should be reported. Next, alcohol and drugs. Port of Tilbury employees are required to follow the port's alcohol and drugs policies at all times. External contractors and anyone else involved in the mooring operation will have their own internal policies to follow, but must adhere to the following points when working within the Port of Tilbury. The consumption or being under the influence of alcohol or drugs while on the list is forbidden. Any reporting of duty having consumed alcohol or drugs, and who in the opinion of management or any responsible person is considered to be a possible danger to themselves or other persons while at work will not be allowed to commence or continue duty. Persons under medication that may be affect their judgment are required to inform management of the circumstances before start working. Next, 3.7 Hazard Awareness. The mooring team must be aware of the hazards associated with the task and be familiarized with the risk assessment for that task. During the mooring operation, the mooring crew need to be aware of the ship movement, the ship lines, and the condition of the tide. 3.8 Persons in the water. Hyperthermia. Following initial immersion of 2 to 3 minutes, where there would be a cold shock reaction resulting in an increase in heart rate and blood pressure. This would be followed by rapid exhaustion over a period of 2 to 15 times. A long-term immersion, 30 minutes plus, could result in the body core temperature falling below 36.9 degrees centigrade. Hypothermia would kick in at about 35 degrees centigrade. Heart failure will occur around 24 degrees centigrade. The water temperature plus the immersion time will dictate the end result. Obviously, the water temperature will differ throughout the year, with winter usually being the coldest time. Casualties can be recovered from the water using the escape ladders positioned along the berth. Lifebuoys are positioned at regular intervals along the berth and can be issued to assist in recovery. It is good to familiarize yourself with emergency equipment prior to commencement of the operation. Next is life jackets and other personal protective equipment. First, general information on personal protective equipment. Those of which this manual applies must wear a life jacket whenever they are working within 3 meters of the quay edge or while boarding, disembarking, or operating vessels. Failure to wear a life jacket at the appropriate time is disciplinary offense, and external mooring constructor will have their license to operate within the port withdrawn. As it is part of your personal protective equipment, you are personally responsible for it. Next, personal protective equipment or PPE for mooring. Any PPE issued by the port or contracting company should be worn for the purpose it was intended for and should be worn correctly as per manufacturer's guidance. Next, for mooring operation, there are many dangers and hazards which can be minimized by the wearing the correct PPE as shown below. This picture shows how to wear properly the PPE. The next is safety helmets shall be worn on all quay and jetties and should be replaced. Following severe impact, which is scratches amount 25% of the shell thickness, when cracking is evident if they exceed 2 years from issue. Next, high visibility clothing must be worn in all working areas. Gloves are worn to protect the hands from sprags, splinters, and sharp edges. Wearing gloves also help protect the use from waterborne diseases and such as hepatitis and leptospirosis. Next, safety boots or shoes must be worn at all times while in operational areas. This includes works in all quaysides. All personnel, whenever they are within operational area, must wear the high visibility clothing and safety footwear provided. In addition, safety helmets and life jackets will be worn in designated areas. Shorts are not permitted to be worn during mooring operation. Next, 4.2 Inflatable life jackets, checks, and inspection. The following are recommendations made to the marine industry by the MCA as regards to the safe use of inflatable life jackets. It is intended to rescue the likelihood of life jacket failing to inflate in an emergency. First is service. Life jackets must be serviced at at regular intervals as specified by the risk assessment for that operation. Life jackets should be regularly serviced, although any faults, damage, or other issues should be raised immediately by the individual in order that it can be rectified at the earliest opportunity. Next is inspect. Inspect your life jacket before donning every time you use it using the following checklist. The first is check the general condition of the outer cover ensuring there are no tears or other damage. Check the buckles are in good condition and fit for purpose. Check straps are not worn or any damage to them. The stitching must be intact. Next is if the life jacket is fitted with a service stick, ensure it is in date and return any overdue jackets for servicing. These service stickers may vary in location. Typical practice is that the next service is given rather than the last. The next is check that all Velcro seams are fully attached and not left open. Any dirt or water that gets inside the casing can cause the inner bladder to become damaged and not inflate when required. The next is ensure the fitted gas cylinder is not corroded and hand tight in the connector. Next.
So good morning everyone, I'm the Cadet Getuayen. To continue this report is to remember your jacket could save your life, so treat it care and store in a secure and safe manner. Storing your life jacket should always be dry before storage and protected whenever possible in the protective cases they came in. Number 5. Mooring. Before mooring ship's arrival. Prior the arrival of a ship will be located specific activities that needed to take place to ensure an effective mooring operation takes place. These include but are not limited to the following, and local or asset specific information is included in the annexes to manual. 1. Mooring plans. 2. Cargo plans. 3. Berth allocation. 4. Berth plans, example where cranes will be positioned. 5.2. Commencement of mooring operation. 1. Personnel should make themselves available promptly on the quay side of as the vessel berths and not wait until the last possible moment. This assets the crew in that it indicates to them personnel are ready. At the same time, the mooring personnel should inspect the quay to ensure that the area is safe to work. 2. Contact should be established between the mooring supervisor or berthing master and the ship's master or pilot. Final mooring arrangement to be agreed. 5.3. Hazards during the mooring operation. 1. Beware of having lines being thrown or projected across the dock quay, which may include a weighted tail and consisting of a monkey's fist or a suitability weighted object. A blow on an unprotected head with one of these can kill or seriously harm. Even the small sand-filled canvas bags can be lethal if they have been soaked in water. Wear your safety helmet. Stays alert at all times. If the having line is drawn and the weighted end is deemed to be the dangerous weight should be cut off, confiscated with a full report given the Marine Department, who can take action against the vessel. When receiving the mooring ropes or having lines, stand at least 1 meter back from the quay edge. As mooring ropes and ensured sufficient rope is heaved onto the quay before dragging towards the bollard, reduced amount of weight being hauled. Mooring terms would only never accept the mooring rope at the time Mooring ropes are heavy, especially when wet. Be, be aware on worn ropes and report any defects straight away to the supervisor so that the marine department can be later informed. A worn rope is more likely part when underloaded. So we can see at the picture. When accepting mooring rope, beware of the vessel paying out additional mooring rope too quickly, which adds extra weight. The mooring rope already heavy, ashore or cold, suddenly drag a mooring unexpectedly towards the quay edge. Ensure that when hauling ropes ashore, you are not walking into danger. Beware of what is around you. So attempt to hold it back. Warn all the team members immediately of the need to let go mooring rope in unusual. So never hold any rope by crown or the eye when placing a bollard or hook. Always hold the rope and by the side of the eye or the standing part and throw the eye over the bollard or hook. Never let your hand or fingers get between the rope and the bollard. So as we can see the picture. When the eye of the rope has been placed on the bollard, tell the person or person holding wait to let go. Ensure or tail having lines are clear working of the near bollard. So once mooring rope has been placed on the bollard, we keep clear while the ship's having the line taut. Be aware that should line part it can whiplash anywhere across the decking, causing severe injury or even death. Sudden tension applied to the rope either by the ship winch or movement of the ship by surging or listing can cause the snake without parting. Wire ropes are notorious for spreading. See image right where broken fibers protrude out long and wire rope, but in particular areas susceptible to the paging occurs, the eye and the splice. These frags can inflict injuries and can even penetrate gloves. Once a mooring rope has been placed on the bollard, keep well clear while the ship heaves. The lines taut. Be aware that the line part it can whip splash anywhere across the dock, causing severe injury, even death. So bollard types: T-bollards, horn bollards, single bit bollard. So you can see the picture. Bollard practices. So maklaro ra na to ang kuan. Nagyapon ning T-bollards, mga horn bollards, single bollards, then how to tie it. So maklaro na to, mabasa na to sa 1, 2, and 3.
Mooring rope identification. The lines are defined as follows. Breast lines, used to hold the vessel alongside the quail. Head and stern lines, used to hold the vessel alongside and control its longitude position. Spring, usually the first line sent ashore to the last let go. They prevent the vessel raging. Mooring and rope identification. Different types of ropes given to alarm signals. Sisals, Manila or core will creak and squeak. Tyrene, cotton, polymerlin, or any of man-made fibers will creak. Wire rope will sing or crack. Nylon may make no noise at all except for very loud crack when it parts. Beware of any such noise and keep away. New materials are continually being introduced, therefore care should be taken when handling any ropes. Ensure that all ropes are snug on bollards or hooks and they do not become full sharp-edged fenders or equipment on the quayside. When using shanken bollards that are normally covered, not used, move the cover plates to the safe position and place warning cones to the plates and mark them. This will usually be behind the rope so that the rope will not fall them and also that other yourself will not trip over them. On completion of mooring, ensure that heaving lines, messenger, etc. are returned to the ship and that all is secure. Mooring vehicles to tow mooring ropes. The use of vehicle during mooring operation will always be at the discretion of the supervisor. Approval to use vehicle must be sought before the operations commence. The fixed eye or broad of among rope or wire should never be secured directly to the towing pin, using the figure of 8 pattern around the pin and ensuring that any times this can be quickly released. The rope well tail should be held by the person standing to landward. This vehicle is driving slowly along the quay. Keep an eye both of the rope and driving all the times. Should be there in any reason to let this rope tail go to the rope will be slip. This is why the mooring party should also be standing when cleared this practice. Sufficient slack rope or wire should be flaked on the quay to allow the eye to be taken to the required bollard without strain. On the completion of mooring operations, report to the supervisor. Number 6. Unmooring ships. Mooring teams when attending vessels that are about to depart must not let go any of the mooring until authorized to do so by the supervisor. The supervisor should make the visual check of the quay to ensure there are no obstructions for the ship's departure such as crane, booms being down or gangways still extending outside the ship rail. Although this will being done on the ship's arrival, there is always a chance that a new obstruction will have developed while the ship is alongside. Stand clear of bollards. When waiting, do not sit on the bollard or the quay edge. Be alert to the what ship's crew doing. Go to the bollard or hook only when the rope is released. Is slack. Release the rope. Ensure the messenger tail is cleared, and then stand well clear. The indicate to the vessel of the rope is clear and they can heavy away. Do not stand near the bollard or hook. Repeat the procedure of every rope. When the ship is lined up and making ready to haul off, extra spin will be put on the rope spin. Springing off to the spring off head will require heaving on a stern line which will place extra strain on the spring. If the stern is to be sprung off, the strain will be placed on the head rope and back spring. Invariably, when a ship is springing off, the ship will be using its engine and propeller to obtain extra leverage, this meaning extra strain to the rope. If tugs are used to pull the spring off, then greater strain may be placed on the rope, even if tug is only taking sufficient strain to hold its position. Wind of the land will increase the loading on a mooring rope, particularly on a large ship. Deck cargo, the sail area then becomes extra weight on the rope. When releasing any rope from a bollard, the rope has no grabs by the side of the eye. Never slide your hard hand along the rope and let go your hand or finger between the rope and the bollard. When releasing deep rope, always pull sufficient slack through the eyes of the other ropes and turn then grip the rope of the bollard. It is jammed by the ropes. Pull the clear part over the top the bollard so that it can pull free. When the vessel and ropes are clear, report this to the supervisor. Do not leave the berth until you have been instructed. to do so by supervisor and only when you're certain that vessel is cleared underway. On rare occasions, vessel may want to proceed back alongside due to technical issues or emergency matters. Number 7. Use of capstan. Upon the arrival to site, mooring and unmooring crews should arrive in early and in good time prior to a vessel departure or arrival. By arriving early in good times, this will enable to make the necessary pre-operational check. Always use the access and the grace point provided. Always park vehicle in appropriate and authorized place. Operative must wear the correct PPE as long as detailed in the risk assessment or safety system of work. PPE should be checked prior to use. Always attend the pre-works briefing. It is advisable to check any weather warnings prior to undertaking any mooring and mooring activities. All personnel who carry radios must ensure that these have been checked and in working order. Pre-operational check of the worksite. Access way and ladders must be visually checked prior to use. A full walk and visual inspection of the dolphins must be carried out. Safety chain across open ladders must be clipped on. When it not used, all lifebuoy must be visually checked. Top, emergent, intermediate, and pole bars rails must be visually checked to ensure they remain secure. The area on the dolphin should be clean and clear of debris when free and unobstructed access. Lighting must be checked prior undertaking any mooring and mooring duties. In low lighting, the lights of the dolphin should be switched on and working. If you have experienced any issues, difficulties, or concern, report them immediately to the supervisor. Pre-use of capstan checks. Only trained or competent persons are permitted to use and operate the capstan. Operatives should always work in pairs as a minimum. Agree who is going to separate in the capstan. Ensure that the capstan power is switched off. Make a visual check of the entire unit for using damage, distortion, cracks, or corrosion. If found, do not use the capstan and report any issue concern immediately to the supervisor. Operating the capstan. Ensure that the hook to receive the mooring line is closed and secure. Set the required directional rotation using the selector switch. Pass the messenger line through the rope guard. Wire lift. Apply 3 or 4 non-overlapping turns of the messenger line onto the capstan drum. When doing this, the capstan drum must stationary under no circumstance apply the messenger line while the capstan is rotating in operation. Take hold the messenger line approximately 1.2 away from the drum. Start the capstan by pressing foot pedal switch. At the same time, apply the smooth progress pull under the messenger line grips to the capstan. All other personnel must stand away from the rotating drum while the capstan is in operation. When the mooring line is sufficiently close, the hook, stop the capstan motor by releasing the pressure of the foot pedal. Bring the capstan to a stop. Select opposite directional rotating using the selector switch. Start the capstan by depressing the foot pedal. Slowly allow the messenger line to feed back to the capstan, resulting the mooring rope dropping back towards the hook. Bring the capstan to a stop. Place the eye of the mooring line over the hook. Once the mooring line is secure, release the remainder to the messenger line from the capstan drum. Return the capstan power. Number 8. Communication and manpower. Radios. At least one radio should be carried within the mooring team all the time stood by the supervisor. The working channel should be agreed advance between all parties, especially if tags are being used. When using radios, ensure your message is transmitted cleanly by pressing transmit button for 2 seconds before you start talking. Roles and responsibilities. During the mooring operation, there should always be a dedicated supervisor who is responsible for liaising the ship's master or pilot as well as being able to give an additional order to the rest of the mooring teams. Normally, the supervisor will not be involved with heaving lines and physically mooring the ship. Exception to this is the lock where the fewer lines are used. Recommended size of mooring teams. The following diagrams illustrate the recommended numbers of personnel required for each operation. Specific operations such as lock side will differential in the relevant port rest assessment. Making fast 0 to 122 meter to team in the aft. 1 to 2 meter to 183 meter 3 team. 3-man team, 183 or greater 4 team. Bridge position 1 1 1. So, yeah. 9. Manual handling. Mooring operative should at all times follow unsafe manual handling techniques. Type things to remember in rope handling are follows. Check your path of the bollard before pulling to ensure it is clear and unsorted. Sometimes you may need to plan your route. There are ineffective obstructions such as crane, lifebuoys, boxes, or stowing cargo. Keep your back stern at all the times. Keep your elbows as close as your body possible. Keep your arms and elbow height. Avoid leaning forwards or backwards. Use leg muscle and no, do not your arms or shoulder. Keep rope close to the body as possible. Maintain good body posture and feet descent within apart to ensure you remain stable and control. Keeping your feet together increase your chance of being pulled. Ensure you have secure footing. Always transfer your body weight rather than strain the back memories. So there it is. More siya. Number 10 kay safety recommendation summary. More siya kani. Do not, never, never, avoid. Do not, do always, do not, do not. So do not stand on the edge. Never through the slack. Do ensure when a halting ropes. Never stand low or bright of any rope. Do ensure all ropes placed correctly on the bollards. Avoid standing to the next rope. Do not bolt into a rope if your friend's strain come on it. Do not stand clear on the bollards when waiting to let go a vessel. Always be alert. Do not go to the bollard or hook until the rope is already slack. Do not take extra care when handling wire ropes. They are notorious and springing. Let go. Do not go to the bollard until a person slack. That's all.